Okay, guys, so we are going to pick up with our third and final early American civilization. So we're going to look at the Inca. So you'll need your notes, look like this. We're going to be on that third and final portion on the Inca. Okay, so picking up here again, when we're looking at these time periods, this is the height of the Inca Empire. So I think it's important for me to mention that the Inca Empire, if you want to add this into your notes, is located in South America along the Andes mountain range. So it's south of the Maya and Aztec Empire that we were talking about previously. Before the Inca had really established a large empire in the Andes Mountains, there were other tribes before the Inca that had established some high culture, just like the Olmec and the Zapotec did for the Maya and the Aztec. So by the time that the Inca get there, there's already this like well-established culture and tradition. But again, they're located in the Andes mountain range, and the Inca Empire extends over the entire Andean mountain range. And that begins with a man named Pachacuti. So right here. So he took power in the 1400s, around 1438, and he conquered and united almost all of Peru. So where the Andes mountain range is actually located. So only men in the Inca Empire that are actually descended from 11 families are able to rule the Inca because of this well-established culture and tradition. They worship a sun god, and so the men from these families are thought to be descended from the sun god. So Pachacuti would have been from one of those 11 prominent families, and then he was able to extend and stretch the empire and unite it over the time of his rule. So by 1500, the empire actually stretched over 2,500 miles along the coast. And so when I say organized with complex culture, they had actually broken up their empire into provinces, which overall 80 provinces, and which included like 16 million people. So a large population, a large empire, and that's well organized. So similar to what we looked at in Unit 2, when several of these large empires were breaking up their empires into provinces to easily rule them, that's the same kind of system that the Inca used as well. So two of their major cities that you need to be able to recognize are Cusco and Machu Picchu. Okay, so here's Machu Picchu. You've probably seen pictures of it before. So this is a sacred city, but you can see again, well organized. All of the architecture throughout the Inca Empire is going to look the same. They have a well organized and strong centralized government. So there's evidence of that through the architecture. It's going to be consistent throughout the entire empire. Okay, so men like Pachacuti would have received the title of Sapa Inca, which means the only Inca. So they are the Incan ruler. And like we said, it's well organized. And it is all unified. So they did this a couple of ways. So the Inca Empire all speaks one language, Quechua, which is right here. So that's how you pronounce that word, Quechua. That is the Inca language that is still spoken today. But what's cool about the Inca is that they actually had a unified education system. So they would have educated everyone in their empire to speak this language, and everyone in the empire also would have received an equal education as well. So the government was able to successfully educate and unify the empire through language and education. They also organized their communities. I said it's 16 million people, so you have to be able to organize those communities. The first way is Ailu, okay? And basically what this did is it broke families and people up into small groups that could perform tasks, okay? And then even smaller than that, the government also relied on people to provide labor tribute. So we call this mita. So each person in the empire is expected to also work for the state for a certain number of days. So within the Ailu, you have a specific task that your small group or your group of people, could be large, maybe you're a farming community, was responsible for. And then every year you were also expected to work for the state for a certain number of days if you were able-bodied. And that was your tribute, almost like a tax, a labor tribute that was paid to the government each year. So this is how the government maintains strong control over such a large empire by breaking it up into smaller provinces, by breaking it up into small organizational systems where people are responsible for certain things, and then also finding a way for people to contribute to the government as a whole. So a lot of historians kind of compare this to like socialism, right, where people are sharing in whatever it is that they produce and things that are provided by the government. The Inca Empire also has an extensive road system, so really similar to the Roman Empire, where pretty much every road within the empire in these major cities would have led back to Rome or the capital. Same thing is true for the Inca. They were known for their extensive road systems because obviously this empire is built over an extensive mountain range. So imagine areas like this, you're going to have to be able to successfully connect the empire so that you can trade and travel and communicate throughout the empire easily. So their extensive road system was one of their major achievements as well. Okay, so we're going to talk more about farming later, but the Inca actually used several different climates that are present throughout the Andes mountain range to produce a plethora of different types of crops. So you'll see on here, the biggest part of their cuisine is llamas and potatoes. So yeah, they ate llamas. That's an animal that's indigenous to this area. Also, this would not necessarily be the only thing that they ate or only crop that they ate, but these are like two of their major the things that they like majorly depend on. As far as religion, they are sun worshippers. They're polytheistic, but they are sun worshippers. So remember, we said that the leader was believed to be descended from a sun god. Women could also be religious leaders. They played a prominent role in religion as well. And also in their religion, they are similar to the Maya and the Aztec in that they do sacrifice, or they do practice human sacrifice, not as frequently. So that's important. Not as frequently. They also would have sacrificed llamas. Again, it's a prominent animal in that region. As far as religion, they're polytheistic. They do practice human sacrifice. They also practice animal sacrifice to their gods. So similar to the Maya and the Aztec in that way. And their form of record keeping is what we call quipu. So I know these words for the Inca are a little bit funky, but quipu was their record keeping system that basically was composed of strings. And on these strings, they could be different colors. So each string or a certain color might represent something different. So like a red string might represent warriors, a yellow string might represent gold, and the number of knots on that string would represent a particular number for their record keeping purposes. So that's how they kept record. So they do have a record keeping system. It's just not a writing system like we've seen previously. All right, so the Inca decline comes towards the end of the or mid 1500s, 1600s when the Spanish arrive. When Huayna Capac, when he died, civil war broke out between his two sons. And his one son, Atahualpa, ended up being the successor, or the son that was successful. And after the Civil War, the Inca Empire was destabilized. So remember, we said that for a while, the Inca Empire had been well organized and stable, but after Atahualpa took power after the Civil War, it's going to be destabilized. So it's not necessarily going to be as unified due to the Civil War. And then when the Spanish arrive in the 1530s, when they get there, the empire is already torn apart by war, and it's also vulnerable to diseases. So similar to what the Maya and the Aztec had experienced, they were very vulnerable to smallpox, etc. So the overthrow of the Inca was very similar to what the Maya and the Aztec had experienced. And the conquistador responsible for overthrowing the Inca is Pizarro. So by the time Pizarro gets there, he actually studied a lot of what Cortez had written about his contact with the Aztecs, and he did a lot of the same things that Cortez did. So like Cortez had made, pacts and alliances with some of the city-states that were not as friendly with the Aztecs. Pizarro did the same thing with the war-torn empire. And so by the time he gets to the capital, the empire is already crumbling. And then obviously the Spanish bringing in their diseases, that just further weakens them to the point where it's easy for the Spanish to take over this particular territory. Okay, so that is the end of the notes for the American civilizations. You guys should have everything completed. We're going to go more in depth about Spanish colonization. So we're going to continue to look at the interactions between the Inca here and the Spanish, and the Aztec and the Spanish. So we're going to talk more about Cortez and Pizarro next time. But this is the end of the notes. This whole thing should be completed. And this is it.